Hello, everyone. My name is Vikram Shastri. Welcome to the next Mindful to Mindful talk. And it's an honor to have Scott Shute, Head of Mindfulness and Compassion at LinkedIn, as our guest. He was VP for customer relations in LinkedIn, and prior to that, he was working in sales for a number of years. He's an author. He's a musician, plays guitar and sings as well. He has written a book called Full Body Yes. So we have Scott today, and we'll be talking to him about full body yes and trying to understand what does it really mean and how can we incorporate that or get that in our own lives, and how does meditation and kindness play a role, and hopefully we will learn some of the practices as well that Scott has emphasized on. So join me today in talking to Scott, and we will learn of his journey. Thank you. So, hey Scott, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us today. It's a privilege to have you in our Mindful to Mindful talks. So, thank you, really.
Thanks for having me. Good to see everyone. Hi.
Thank you so much, Scott. We have been kind of brewing this for a while, and kind of many people are waiting to kind of hear you. So it's really a joy. So I read your book, and it's a treat to read it, and it kind of not only did I resonate with many of the stories that you mentioned there, and there were a lot of experiences that I had that I could relate with, and I was like, oh wow, this happens, and there was a lot of learnings for me. So the hope is that during this conversation we can bring out such things, and people will be able to take away value. So
Sure.
there are so many things that that we can really talk about, from your journey, your life journey, your inner journey, your experience in LinkedIn, your role, etc. So I'm hoping that we will kind of dab into everything. But let's start with the obvious question first. What does full body yes mean?
What is the full body yes? Yeah, that's a good one. So the full body yes to me is when you just know, right? And sometimes it's easy, like you're trying to decide what to have for breakfast.
Right.
Do you want the yogurt and the fruit or the eggs and the whatever? But it's most powerful, it's most poignant when you've been struggling, when we have been
Mhm.
struggling with something. We're trying to decide about a career or a relationship or something with, we have these things all the time that we agonize over.
Right.
And sometimes things just happen, and then all of a sudden we just know the answer. And sometimes we have to go for it a little bit deeper. I'll give you a couple examples. I've been at LinkedIn about 9 years now. And so about
Mhm.
9 years ago, a recruiter reached out to me,
Right.
recruiting me for this job. And the job I was the VP of Global Customer Operations. Right? But I loved the job that I was in. I loved the company. I loved my boss. But something compelled me to pick up the phone and talk to her, the recruiter. And on the outside, the information seemed like, wow, this job seems like a lot more work for less money. Like, why would I do this?
Right.
But I was compelled to interview, and I interviewed a round or two. And one night I just woke up in the middle of the night. It's
Mhm.
1:30, and I was wide awake. Like I knew
Mm.
I wasn't going to go back to sleep. And I
Right.
just knew. And this knowing came with I was like, I know I'm supposed to do this job. I don't know
Got it.
why, but I
Got
know
it.
I'm supposed to do this job. And I think that most of us have had some experience like this, where sometimes things just click, and
Absolutely.
we know. And when we move from wondering to knowing,
Hmm.
then the mind settles, the emotion settles, the body settles, and then no matter what happens, like we just know. And
I
for me, the deepest part of that is, okay, what part of us knows?
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
it feels like it's beyond the mind. It feels like it's beyond emotions. Like I would call it soul. Like at the deepest level, that deepest part of me, now I'm operating from that perspective.
Right.
And so this whole book is, how do we move away from, well, it's really my own journey of moving away from being caught up in the mind or emotions and living life from perspective of soul.
Awesome. I mean, that's really, really very nicely put, and I can easily resonate with one of my experiences too. Just to give it to you in 30 seconds. So I was basically I was working in the IT industry for a while, working for a good company, getting a good pay. Everything looked very nice from the outside, you see, and people would really want to be in my shoes, but only I knew how miserable I was, and I was
Right.
not really resonating with the job, even though it was nice. People were good and all that. And then on an impulse, I kind of quit and I started doing training, which I thought I would really love, and I had been dabbling with it. And but suddenly, from a pay which was very good, I had to kind of step it down because it's my own venture, and it was like 5 times, 6 times lesser, hardly anything. And suddenly there were these doubts that started creeping in, and I used to look at other people wearing nice badges, working in very good companies, and here I was trying to scrap my way through in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, if you will, training students and trying to make a name. And it was very, very
Yeah.
hard. And something
Yeah.
surprising happened, which is one day I was doing a training for a corporate, and they really kind of resonated with what I did. And the director came to me and he gave me an open offer. He's like, "Look, we
Mm.
really like what you are saying. Why we want you to head one team here." And you know what? And they offered me a salary that was twice what I was getting in my earlier job, which was itself was very
Yes.
good, right? And I was
Yes.
like, wow. But when I read your book, and when I read a couple of the stories that you mentioned, I really resonated with this point of time in my life, because you know what? Then I knew that I should not take that job, and I went
Mm.
back to training. And
Mm.
for 5 years, I really worked very, very hard, and I can definitely look back and say that for myself, I did the right thing, and
Yeah.
it was extremely rewarding too. In the later part of the years,
Yeah.
even financially, which I thought wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And there I was able to connect to what you said. I had a full body yes moment, and everything
Yeah.
kind of felt very calm and nice, and I just knew what I could do. And
That's
that
right.
was phenomenal. And and but the question is, yes, I can relate to few more incidents like this in my life, but can we achieve this or reach into this in a very regular way? I believe
Mm.
when I read the book, that's what you're
Yeah.
intending to say, that there is a part of us, an inner voice, which we can really connect to. But
Yeah.
I see
That's
that
right.
in my own life, it's all kind of hidden. So please,
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
Well, I think I think for many of us it's a daily practice, right? And it's sometimes not easy,
Right.
right? Especially if it's something we really want,
Mm.
right? If we really want that promotion, we really want to be with this other person in a relationship, whatever those things are, what the mind wants and what soul feels or wants can often be, mixed up and confused.
Right.
And so what's the practice? Well, many of us have a spiritual practice or some sort of practice where we're quieting the mind, quieting the emotions. And certainly I have that practice. For me, it's a daily practice that's been a part of my life for a long time. And that practice helps me settle in and helps me get clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still hard, right? And so what I say is whenever we come across one of these decisions, right? When we go
Mm-hmm.
left or right, try to listen, try to get quiet, do your practice, whatever your spiritual practice is, to really listen. Perhaps even ask the universe, like, what am I supposed to do here? Left or right?
Right.
And then make the decision.
Mm.
But then kind of keep track of it. I made the decision. I went one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, go back and evaluate. Was that the right thing? Like you mentioned in your story, you made this choice. And over time, you went back and just kind of checked, like, oh, yeah, this was the right choice for me or the
Right.
wrong choice for me, whatever.
Right.
So that's an idea. Actually, can we do just a quick practice, 2-minute
Absolutely.
practice?
Absolutely.
So here's a practice I use. You may have heard of it before. I call it A versus B.
Mm-hmm.
And so think of something in your life that you have to choose between. And of course, it could be breakfast, but it's more powerful if it's real, right? If it's
Okay.
something we're struggling with.
Right.
And so everybody listening, if you have something, and get really clear on what is A,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what is B, and simplify it. Get rid of all the noise and all the detail. Just make it A and B. Okay. Now we'll close our eyes for a second.
Okay.
Take a deep breath in and let it go. And just imagine choice A. You've already chosen choice A. This is part of your life. And let that roll around in your body. let it fast forward in your mind. What does it mean to have this A in your life? You are a person with choice A in your life. Then take a deep breath in and let it go. We need a palate cleanser. So just think about an orange rhinoceros for a second. All right, now take another deep breath in and out, and think about choice B. Think about choice B. You have chosen choice B. And fast forward it in your mind a little bit. Allow it to roll around in your body. Notice how it feels in your body. Take another deep breath in and out, and let it all go. And you can open your eyes and just notice which one felt better. Now, before the mind gets involved, because here's what happens. Let's say I felt more at ease or more comfortable with B, but then immediately the mind will jump in and say, yeah, but what about, this is why we do this exercise. It's because the mind is the one that is busy. Now, it's just another tool, right? Maybe it's right, maybe it's not right, but it's another piece of information, because there's something in the body, something deep within us that already knows part of the answer. And so learning to tune into that, because science has not quite caught up with the body brain yet. So just another idea.
Awesome. That was really helpful and something that we can put it to use. And it's probably, somewhere the power of visualization coming through, right? Because then we can clearly juxtapose and compare, and hopefully we have an insight that comes within, and we could probably go with that. And fantastic. When I read your book, I was amazed that, you are the index or the contents and the chapter names itself is the lesson. And I thought I would kind of ask you, I'm sure you have chosen that very purposefully, so as to how to get from wherever we are, which is typically a mind full of chaos, if you will, to a place where you are more calmer and resonating with that inner voice and the full body yes, if you will, right? So you say the first part of the book says you need to know yourself. Then once you do that, you get to loving yourself, and then mastering yourself, and finally you say compassion in action is what will really take you from what you beautifully say as me to we. Right. I mean, if you could really help elaborate how to get to know yourself, how to get to move to love yourself. This journey seems fascinating.
Well, there's a lot there, so let's break it down a little bit. We'll start with know yourself. So knowing yourself, we start with internal systems, and your listeners are probably well aware of our internal systems. These are, we have two nervous systems: fight or flight system, when we get triggered into kind of action, and it's not bad. This has kept us alive, during our evolutionary cycle. And then the other part of our system is rest and digest, and so getting to know the things that trigger me, getting to know my body, understanding how I can regulate my body. So I'm assuming most of the listeners here have some sort of practice, a meditation or a spiritual practice, and you know what it's like to be very busy or upset. And then when you do your practice, it kind of takes the edge off that, and you can get calmer. Some days I'm sure it's better than others, right? And so that's one piece, is understanding our bodies and where we go. Another piece is really understanding our own story, right? Knowing where we came from, knowing who we are, and knowing why we make the decisions that we make, right? So as an example, through the course of work and being a leader, I've taken lots of these personality tests at work, everything from Myers-Briggs to the Enneagram to the AVA to, a long list of them. And so I have a better understanding of myself. Here are my tendencies. And I really encourage that for everyone. Be like an explorer. And sometimes we think we know everything because we've been inside our own heads for however years we are old, but there's still more to learn, right? Most recently, I came across the Enneagram, right? It's another one of these personality tests, But for me, it was different because all the other tests talked about how I showed up to other people.
Mm-hmm.
But the Enneagram was like, why do I do these things in the first place? I thought
Nice.
that was fascinating. And so,
Awesome.
and not any one of them is perfect, but they're all different, flavors of the rainbow. And if we put a lot of them together, we have a better understanding of ourselves. So those are a few things on know yourself.
Right.
The second one, we'll take a little more time on, the love yourself.
Right.
Maybe, and compassion, this whole book really for me is about how to be compassionate. And sometimes what I realized was 99% of being compassionate is about our own development.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally for most of us, we're just thinking about me.
Right.
And when we're doing that, we're not aware of others.
Right.
We can't help other people. So compassion starts with ourselves. So loving ourselves, in other words, self-compassion, is a great place to start. So maybe I'll tell our friends here the story of my mean friend.
Sure.
One of the things I do is I play guitar. I don't know if you can see my guitar.
Right.
I write music, I sing, and every year during the summertime we have a block party. Well, every year that's not COVID. We shut down around the corner. We shut down the block. It's a good time. There's 50, 60 people there. There's barbecue and games, and it's good. And at the end of the evening, my friend and I play music. We turn his front porch into a little stage, and we play music, and people sing along.
Nice.
And it's good fun. And before the last one, I was getting ready for the block party. I was looking up new songs. I was searching for new songs to play and learning them. And my friend came over during the middle of this. And my friend says, oh, are you playing at the block party this year? And I said, yeah, I was planning on playing. He's like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you should. Like,
Wow.
Whoa. Why is that? He's like, he's like, last time when you started playing, like a bunch of people just left that area. Like they went over to play beer pong or trade whiskey shots, or I don't know what they were doing, but they left wherever you are. Like, honestly, I don't know if you're that good.
Wow.
Whoa.
Talk about giving it straight.
Yeah, right. And well, here's the thing. Before my friends came over, I was excited about the block party, right? I wanted to go. I was creative. My life was big. And now that he was saying all these things, like my life became smaller, right? I could start to feel the blood rushing to my head and little beads of sweat on my receding hairline. I didn't feel very good about myself. But my friend was not done. My friend is like, he's like, and beyond that, like, dude, why does it have to be about you all the time? Like, why are you always on stage? Look at me.
Wow. Okay. My God.
like he punched me in the stomach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, again, life got very small.
Right.
Now, you might wonder, why do I keep a friend like this? Like, why would I allow anyone to talk to me like that?
Right.
But this friend has been with me for a long time. They think they know me better than anyone else. They think that, by saying these things, they're somehow
helping,
keeping me safe. This friend is me. These are the stories I was telling myself, right?
Nice.
And when we tell ourselves these stories, our lives get very small.
Right.
Our capability becomes very small. Because in that moment, when I was listening to, we call it the obnoxious roommate or the inner critic.
Right.
When I listen to this obnoxious roommate, I'm not going to try new things, right? I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be closed and small and tight.
Right.
But luckily, most of us have, the other friend as well, the inner champion. And what the inner champion said, and what's really important is that the inner champion tells us the other part of the story. The other part of the story. I call this pothole management, right? We can have 1,000 miles of perfect road. and there's one pothole.
Right.
But where do we spend our time? Right? We spend 99% of our time on the one pothole,
Right.
right? But true mindfulness is having a full perspective. You see it all. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly, but for the percentages that they really are, right?
Absolutely. Makes sense.
And we see it without judgment. We just
Right.
notice it and go, okay, well, what do I do with that? Okay, so this is the role of the champion. It's just to act as the balance. And the
Mhm.
champion says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Maybe a couple people left. But here's the deal. If John Lennon and Michael Jackson and Beyonce all came and showed up on the porch, there would still be people who would leave
Absolutely.
and go trade whiskeys, because that's just what they want to do. It has nothing to do with you. And
Exactly.
yes, there's going to be people who don't like your music. You don't like some music, right?
Right.
And there are lots of people who do like the music. It's their only
Mm.
chance all year that they get to sing, right? And you get asked to play every year.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you enjoy it, right? So what do you want to do,
Right.
right? And so when we go through our lives, to be able to see, to ask the question, what else is true,
Mm.
right? Because whether it's in our relationships,
Mhm.
right? Just think of any relationship you've ever been in. We typically get stuck on the annoying thing that the person does, right? We
Right.
think, oh, my spouse did X, and we fixate on this one thing that they do. But
A
if we
small
ask
part of.
ourselves, okay, what else is true?
Right.
Well, what else is true is all these other good things, right? All these, the history that we have, the kids we have together, all these other good things. And when I see things in totality, then it gives me some perspective, and I can kind of let the energy fade away for the thing I'm frustrated about. Or at work, if I get a performance review, I can
Mhm.
get 5 pages of great comments. Here's all the great things Scott did last time period, and 3 sentences of here's the things Scott should work on. Now, my natural tendency is to focus 100% of my energy on the 3 things.
Right.
But if I see things in balance, then
Mhm.
yeah, it's fine. So this loving ourselves starts with mindfulness. It starts from asking to see ourselves in totality.
Mhm.
But then beyond that, it's actually loving ourselves. So perhaps we could do another practice here.
Please, that'll be helpful. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's this will be a little bit longer, maybe 6 to 8 minutes. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, perfectly fine. Please go ahead.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and find ourselves a comfortable position and take a deep breath in and close your eyes on the exhale if you're comfortable. And allow yourself to settle. Allow the body to settle. If there's any tension in your jaw or your shoulders, just allow it to slip away, to melt away. And just be here in the present. And if you're comfortable, you can put your hand on your heart. And first, just feel the gentle rise of your hand on your chest with your breathing. You know, when we give someone a hug, our bodies are literally soothed. They release oxytocin, which soothes us. And even our own hand on our own heart does something similar. It is soothing. And from this place, you might even recall a memory from your childhood or any time when you were soothed by a grandmother or an auntie, mother, anyone. And allow yourself to be held in that memory, in that soothing hug. And from this place, you can say to yourself inwardly, I am strong. May I be the strength that I need. I am patient. And may I have patience with myself. I am creative. May my creative spark shine brightly. And I am love. May I give myself love unconditionally. And may I give others love unconditionally. If you like to visualize, you might visualize a golden light that starts at your heart center and grows, expands outward. With each breath, it gets stronger, brighter, allowing this golden light to fill your entire being. If we were to look at you from the outside, this light is all we would see. And this is the true you. Beyond the mind, beyond emotions, beyond the body. This part of you, which is compassion, which is patience, which is creative, which is love itself. This is you. And from this place, you can say your name followed by, I love you. So I would say, Scott, I love you. But you try it. And continue saying it. And yes, for some of us, this is strange. But let go of your judgment. Let go of your doubts or shame. And say it as if you were saying it to your guru, or as if you were saying it to the person you treasure most in life. But even more importantly, receive it. Receive it as if you were hearing it from the person you treasure most in life. And continue to say it, your name followed by, I love you. With each time, allowing your light to go stronger and brighter. Allowing a smile to come across your face. And then shifting your attention outward. Notice what it's like to send your goodwill out into the world. Your love, your unconditional love out into the world. To your family and friends, but beyond, your city, your nation, the entire universe. What is it like to send it out and also to have it reflected back to you? Because the thing we realize is when we recognize ourselves as this golden light, as soul, then we can begin to recognize others as their highest self, as soul as well. We are separate, but connected. Taking another deep breath in and letting it go. Nothing more to do. May the blessings be. And then returning your attention back to the present, back to our call here. Welcome back.
Thank you, Scott. That was very empowering
Mm.
and
You- This
very
is
peaceful.
I think is describes the nature of our existence and almost purpose in life, because and it describes the arc of the book as well, because the first stage is to know yourself, to know who I am, to love myself, to see myself in my highest part, and then to learn how to deal with myself so that I can offer the same thing to others, right?
Right,
Compassion in action is essentially the ability for me to share love, essentially, that deepest part of me, to act as that deepest part of me. You know, almost every spiritual path is the same in one regard, in that we say, well, essentially, God is love. And when I become more loving, I become more godlike.
right.
Right? And so every part of this journey is there to teach me, to teach us about love, both first how to receive it, but then how to give it into the world.
Awesome. That that's very deep and profound, if I will, from my point of view. And obviously, one or two things came to my mind. I thought I'll quickly share it with you. Knowing yourself and loving yourself, probably, and also distinguishing that there is this inner soul, as you called it, energy, however you would want to say, or higher intelligence, if you will,
Yeah,
probably
sure.
helps us in also seeing in others that distinction.
That's
And
right.
maybe in that inner part, we are all kind of similar. And in the
Absolutely.
exteriorities, we have our own conditionings and our own limitations and our own stories, which I
Yeah,
feel that, as you said, using some techniques and maybe deeper analysis into our own selves, why we are the way we are, will help us
yeah,
uh, uncover that
yeah.
inner, inner self,
That's
if you
right.
will, to some
That's right.
extent. And
That's
that's
right.
that's fantastic.
It can start in simple ways, but what you said is exactly right. When we realize that we have a better part of ourselves, whatever language you want to use,
Right,
then we can see that better part in others. Now, the world is very divided, right? It's always been that way, but it's hyper divided in our 24-hour news cycle,
right,
in politics and religion and socioeconomic differences. And we tend to focus on how we're different. We tend to
hmm,
focus on the pothole,
right,
right? So if you meet someone and they say, oh, they're XYZ, they're from a different political party, or they believe something differently. Oh, we only focus on that part.
right,
But wow, what if we focused on the other 99% of them, which is the same or very similar as us?
very
I'm
true.
sure that this person is just trying to get through life. I'm sure that they love their friends and family, um, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That
Right,
99% of them is just like us.
right,
And so just like the pothole, where are we going to focus our attention with another person? Now, this is very challenging, right? So I think these models help and the stories help to remember, but we also give ourselves some self-compassion to say, this is actually really hard.
right.
But each day, each practice, each moment is an opportunity to learn more about ourselves, which allows us to love.
Awesome. That was fantastic. I really want to talk to you about some techniques and see also
Yeah,
how mindfulness fits in here.
sure.
But just to kind of share a few thoughts came to me, and you know it's like uh, quite a few things. The first insight that I had when I read your book, I mean, we can't be more diametrically opposite in a way from the physicality point of view, right? Like, I'm in India, you're in US, and you're an American, and I have different childhood, different. I mean, it's completely different worlds. But and if you really look at it, you're head of mindfulness at LinkedIn, and you're in VP, and you have a different career and whatnot, right? But when I really read your, the stories that you have written and your own journey, I was like, hey, this happened to me too. And whoa,
That's right.
what is this? You have
That's right.
similar familial values, similar kind of, experiences with friends and similar ups and downs. And, you have had
That's right.
your ups and downs with your career and, relationships like anybody would do. And I think that's what, when it really hit me, that that knowing yourself part and loving yourself part and recognizing this deeper insight, or that we have this deeper voice, will help us not only disassociate our conditioning and our own stories, but it will
Yes,
help us do the same for others when we see them as
that's
well.
right.
And I was
That's
like,
right.
wow, this I can totally relate to why you say we are all kind of connected in some deeper way. And that was
Yeah,
really
that's right.
insightful for me. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Yeah, that is a very powerful concept when we see that at the root of it, at the what I would call soul level or energy level, atomic level, we're connected and same. When we add the personality, and the personality I would define as the combination of the body, the mind, and emotion, the thing that makes Scott, or the thing that makes Vikram,
Right.
then we're different.
Right.
But at the root of it, same.
Mm.
But even in the human condition, as an example, when I was 18, I was trying to decide what to do in life, right? And one
Mhm.
choice was to go into business, get an engineering degree and go into business. Another choice was to kind of follow my spiritual bliss and try to be an actor or a singer, move to Broadway in New York.
Mhm.
And it felt like these things are wildly different, right?
Right.
And what I believe now, after some 30 something years later, is that it probably didn't matter that much which one I chose.
Mhm.
I would have learned the same lessons. Now, the context would have
Mhm.
been extraordinarily different, right? Instead
Right.
of working for a semiconductor company or a telecommunications company or an internet company, I'm working for a theater company, or the work and the context would have been completely different. But
Right.
I believe deeply that the lessons of
Mm.
the heart, the lessons of
Mm.
how to learn about myself and how to give and receive love, they would have been the same.
Nice.
So whether you're a kid growing up in a farm in Kansas, or a kid growing up in somewhere in India or anywhere else in the world,
Right.
we all share this in common.
Right. No, that's really powerful to know, actually, and that today we can know that. Probably when I was growing up, India was my world, and we were so secluded and we could not even relate to anybody else outside. But now I think, with the advent of technology, that's one of the positives. That's fantastic. That's really nice. And in the context of all this, so just to kind of recap what I've understood, is that we want to be in a state where we have this full body as moments, right, more and more in our lives, where we have this deeper selves give us some kind of an answer, if you will, and we tap into that and we feel calm. And especially when multiple choices that we can make, and it's being hard, and we are happy with the choice we make. So the point is to get there. And how do we do that? Is step one, know yourself, take some personality tests, as you said, and really look into our own conditioning as to why we are the way we are, and try to dismantle the story itself from what happened. When I was reading your book, one incident that came to me very powerfully was when I was just 6 7 years of age, and I was participating in all kinds of events and competitions in school. And there was a competition where I had this was a singing competition, and I enrolled myself because I thought every competition you would just go. And
Sure.
just prior to that, I had attended a Rangoli competition. I don't know if you know this Rangoli,
Yeah.
which is an art
Yeah.
form,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I attended. I was the only boy, and rest were all ladies there, and I didn't feel anything. And this
Yeah.
time, though, I made a mistake that I didn't tell my mom, who would have, usually coach me into something. And the day came where I had to come up on the stage and sing, and I have not been exposed to singing at all. I don't even know what it is. And they called my name, and you can imagine there are like 300, 400 students, and I come onto the stage all the while thinking, okay, what should I sing? And I had absolutely no fear. But I did step on the stage, and then the teacher, my favorite teacher, by the way, she asked me, okay, you can go and sing now. And I adjusted the mic and I started singing our national anthem, because that's the only
Mhm.
thing that I know. And and the entire audience started booing me. All right. And here is a 6 year old kid who is
Whoa.
obviously singing, national anthem, which we sing every day in the morning,
Yeah.
and singing this, and people started booing. And for at that moment, something, happened in me that's, oh my God, there's something, wrong with me. And
Um,
that people are, laughing at me. And I ran
yeah.
from the stage and, locked
Yeah.
myself in, and I
Mm,
cried my heart out, and until my parents
mm,
came. And, looking, and by the way, this, I forgot about this. But
Mm,
consequentially, a story, about myself came in my mind that maybe I'm
mm,
not good enough for these kind of events.
mm,
And for the next probably 22 years of my life, I didn't even attend any event, you know.
mm.
There, and the only thing was I had forgotten about this incident
Yeah,
altogether. And
yeah,
whenever there was a competition that would come up, in my heart, I want to participate. I feel
yeah,
like doing that, but something would
yeah,
stop me.
yeah,
And when I could do an exercise to identify the story
yeah,
from what actually happened. What
yeah,
actually happened was okay, a bad thing, but it's not such a big deal. It may not
yeah,
repeat itself, right? So this
yeah.
gave me that ability, at least for myself, to understand myself a little better. And then on, wherever there was any, event or something that was being, created, some function in the office, etc.,
Mm,
I would kind of thrust myself out, no matter how much of a big fool I would
yeah,
make myself out to be. But that knowing myself part, that this is why I was like this, really released a lot of pent up
yeah,
tension. And I could
yeah,
really relate to what you mentioned, that
yeah,
first step is knowing yourself. And if you do that, then only you go to the next step, which is loving yourself, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
and the practices and tips that you mentioned are fantastic in the book. If anybody has not read it, please get a copy and read it. For sure, there'll be a lot of insights related to our own lives. Now, in the context of this, where does mindfulness and meditation play a role? Because I was
Sure.
not very clear about that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I use mindfulness as a broad bridge word for lots of things at work, because as you mentioned, I'm the head of mindfulness and compassion at LinkedIn.
Yeah. Right.
Everything we do is completely secular, right? It's I use language that's open,
Hmm.
and anyone can use it regardless of their spiritual beliefs or if they even have any.
Right.
Now, but so I think of these as mental exercise. And so as we do these mental exercises, as we quiet the mind,
Hmm.
I believe we're getting more in tune with that deepest part of ourselves. We're becoming more in tune with soul, right? As we
Right.
quiet the mind and quiet the emotions, then this deepest part, however you believe that is, can thrive, right? We
Right.
quiet the mind, we quiet the body, we quiet the emotions, and then we can see the whole picture, not just the pothole.
Right.
So as an example, in your experience, as you were telling your story before you got to the booing part, what I felt about the story is, oh my God, that's wonderful. Like, here's this young boy who's so
Right.
open, who's
Right.
so full of joy and love and will try anything,
Right.
right? And then life went, shoo, right? And this is how
Absolutely.
we change. But over time, I'm hoping that life taught you that you can open back up. And wow,
Absolutely.
when we live from this place of just open, like, why does it matter? Why does it matter what anybody else thinks of us?
Right.
Then we're free.
Yeah.
If we live our lives in this place of hiding in the closet because 300 people are booing at us, and we make up a story about what that means in our head, and by the
Right.
way, all of us do this. You are
Right.
not alone. I am not alone. We all do this. Then our lives become very small.
Right.
And so the practice of meditation, the practice of mindfulness, the practice of
Mhm.
your spiritual practice, whatever that is, even if it's not a spiritual practice, allows us to settle and see things clearly. And it allows us in my worldview, my language, to tap into that deepest part of us,
Right.
because that deepest part of us does not have fear.
Right.
That's mind. The deepest
Right.
part of us does not have shame. It's just pure and open, and like a dog, like a golden retriever. I'll do anything. What should
Right.
we do?
Right.
Joy, right? Pure joy. Imagine if we can live every moment from that place instead of that place of, what will people think of me?
Right. Right.
Life becomes
Ab-
very different.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a different, every day for one, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
fantastic. So just deliberating on a little bit on meditation practice itself. Does it really
yeah,
matter how lengthy the duration of meditation is? And especially in the beginning, for somebody who's new to start with the practice, are there any
yeah.
tips that you can kind of, give us so that we can,
Sure.
yeah,
I'll share a couple things. Okay,
please.
first of all, do you want to know what the most powerful, this is proven, the most powerful type of meditation is? It's the one you'll actually do.
Good one.
So, in other words, think of it like mental exercise versus physical exercise. What's the
Right.
best type of physical exercise? Is it swimming or running or badminton or
Doesn't
it,
matter. Yeah.
it's the one you like. right?
Right.
It's the one that fits your body. So in the
Mm.
same way, the best type of meditation or spiritual practice or whatever you want to call it
Hmm.
is the one that appeals to you.
Right.
So let the practice fit to you instead of you trying to fit into some practice, right?
Makes
This is the
sense.
first thing.
Right.
And if you don't know what you like, I I recommend these apps. There's lots of
Hmm.
different apps you can try. So you
Right.
can pick, do you want
Absolutely.
something that's secular or spiritual? Do you want to use a mantra? Do you want to just be quiet? The whole range of flavors is there for you to choose from. Find one you
Right.
like.
Hmm.
Okay, so then once you've found one you like, your question is, how long should I do this?
Right.
I'm busy, man. I don't have time for this.
Exactly.
One of the famous kind of old stories in one of the traditions, I don't even know which one. A student goes to the teacher and says, hey, how much should I meditate every day? And the teacher
Uh-huh.
says, oh, like an hour a day. But hey, I
Mm.
know if you're really busy and you don't have time and you're stressed out, then it should be 2 hours.
Awesome.
and,
Yeah.
and forget the amount of time. The point is, when
Right.
you don't have time and when you're freaking out and you're stressed, that's when you need it. That's when you
Right.
need it the most.
Right.
So
Right.
one of my favorite books right now is James Clear wrote the book
Mm.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn how to build a habit, any habit,
Hmm. Hmm.
this is a great book. But start small. This is the point of Atomic Habits.
Right.
Start with the smallest thing that you'll commit to do every day,
Right.
right? So, and here's another thing. I like to make it a ritual,
Mm.
not for the sake of the ritual, but for
Right.
the sake of building a habit.
Right.
So for me, every day 6:30 in the morning, I get up, I go outside, and I, regardless of the weather usually, and I do my thing.
Mm.
And so pick a time and a place and commit to one breath, just one.
Nice.
Take one deep inhale, one long exhale. You could even set an alarm on your phone, right?
Right.
And just for that one time, take one breath. Okay. And then over time, the one breath turns into 3, and the 1 minute turns into 3 minutes. And maybe you develop a 20-minute practice over time, maybe
Right.
not. But think of it like physical exercise.
Right.
If you do a little bit, it's helpful. And the
Hmm.
more you do, the bigger that muscle gets.
Right.
And I also think there are integrated practices and dedicated practices, right? And a dedicated practice is, oh,
Hmm.
wow, maybe once in a while you want to do a little retreat and spend a weekend or spend 10
Right.
days doing Vipassana, whatever your thing is. Or maybe that dedicated practice is you're doing 10 minutes a day every day. That's great. Then there are the integrated practices.
Hmm.
The integrated practices is, how do I incorporate this into my life,
Correct. Right.
right? So maybe I'm in a conversation and I notice myself getting a little heated or getting a little triggered.
Right.
Just remembering to take one breath. The person doesn't even have to know. It's just going to be long and slow without any noise. Just
Right.
take one breath and feel yourself just kind of settle.
Hmm.
Or set an alarm where pick your birthday. As an example, my birthday is on the 22nd. So maybe I
Hmm.
set an alarm for every time it's the 2, 7:22, 8:22, 9:22. I'm just going to take one breath.
Nice.
So whatever it is, figure out your system that will
Right.
allow you to build a habit.
Right. Right. No, makes a lot of sense. And these are doable, right? I mean, starting
Yeah.
with one breath is doable. And it's just
Yeah.
that we need to do it regularly, and probably consistency is the key. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
second tool, I feel that these are the tools where not only you can get to know yourself, you tap into that inner, full body yes, if you will. And the second tool you mentioned was gratitude. And you had a very
Mm.
nice couple of, tips there. I thought I will ask you
Yeah.
about that before we,
Sure.
go into,
Sure.
I know we have, probably crossed a little bit of time, but this is so
Sure.
insightful talking to you. So I thought I'll just
Well,
ask you about that.
for sure. Gratitude is a superpower. And if you think about where our mind goes, really, most of our experience is about what's happening in here,
Right,
really, not about what's happening in life, but how we're
right.
responding to it. So the tools of the mind become the most powerful in shaping our experience. And just like we are we are programmed, we are conditioned to have a
Hmm.
negativity bias to stay alive, right? We see things in the negative. Gratitude helps balance things out, right? If
Right.
most of the time we're looking at the pothole, right,
Hmm.
and just seeing the bad things, it takes gratitude or something else to balance this out. So some ways to incorporate gratitude in our lives could be a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
It could be at home at the dinner table. Just, if you sit with your family for meals, just kind of go around, what's something you're grateful for today?
Nice.
You could do this in staff meetings. You can do this at work, right?
Wow.
It's a
Awesome.
super powerful. We do
Right.
this at work. We just spend the first 6 or 7 minutes of a staff meeting just kind of going around. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share? We call it kudos. You have a kudos for a friend or anything you're grateful for.
Hmm.
And at work, this moves us from head to heart.
Hmm.
And it also moves us from being closed like that, we're all just thinking about
Right.
work, to opening ourselves up. And here's
Interesting.
the thing, in the beginning, you're like, are we really going to spend 6 minutes on this? Because we're all busy, we're all running really quickly.
Right.
The thing is, it allows us to move faster over time
Mm.
because we get to know each other at the human level instead of just
Hmm.
at the worker level.
Right.
And then if something comes up, a conflict or just the need to work together, we've
Mm.
built this connectivity and it allows us to
Right.
move much faster over time.
Right.
So those are just a few things about gratitude, but it
Awesome.
really is a superpower.
Nice, fantastic. That's at Black Lotus, the app that we created with the insights from Om Swami. That's exactly what he also felt and said, and which is what is baked into it. A few minutes of daily meditation practice. It could be even just 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And couple it with gratitude activities or gratitude actions, as we call it, and
Yeah.
a simple set of kindness acts. That leads me
Yes.
to compassion, which is your final
Yeah.
the mainstay of what you really want to convey through your book. And there was a very powerful incident that you quoted. I would love for you to quote that again for our viewers.
Mm.
The lawn mowing episode, where
Yeah.
if you can
Well,
just share
I'll
that,
tell
that
the
would be.
story.
Yeah, please.
I'll tell the story. So I found myself one day in a bad mood, right? And it was all in here, right?
Right.
Everybody's had this day. And I was grumpy, and I live in San Jose, California. I have this tiny little lawn with grass, and I was mowing the lawn, and I was not in a good mood. I don't really like mowing the lawn. It was super hot. I'm sweating. I have other things I'd rather be doing. And so I'm kind of, pushing the lawnmower around, throwing
Right.
it, I accidentally clipped some of the flowers, and I'm just angry.
Right.
I remembered something that my spiritual teacher had said. He said that when you're feeling stuck, stuck in your head, just stuck in life, do one kind of act of kindness out of
Mm.
pure love every day, or just to get out of it,
Right.
without any thought of reward. And that's the hard part.
Right.
Right, without any thought of reward. And I was thinking about this, and I was mad, but I remembered. And I was thinking then about my neighbor who lives across the street,
Hmm.
and he had been sick. His mother had passed away. I didn't know him very well, but I was thinking, well,
Mm.
maybe I don't know what I can do for him, but maybe I can mow his lawn while I'm out here.
Right.
So when I was done, I just went over and I just started mowing his lawn. It had grown a little, longer than is
Nice.
culturally appropriate. So I mowed his lawn. It took me 5 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. And something funny happened. In the middle of mowing his lawn, doing something I don't like to do,
Right.
I started to feel good. I started to feel better. I started to release this anger and frustration that I had. Now, I didn't expect him to come out with a plate of biscuits or cookies or lemonade or whatever. I just did it. And at the end, I was reflecting on this for a long time. So here's the thing. I didn't really like my neighbor that much. He's kind of grumpy.
Right.
But so I did something that I don't like to do
Right.
for someone I don't really like that much.
Right. Right.
And it made me feel great.
Wow.
Like,
That's
wow, there's something going on here.
some power there. Something to tap into.
And this is the journey, right? This is the journey from me to we.
Right.
When we just think about ourselves, we tend to just spin, right?
Right.
But when we develop ourselves, when we love ourselves, and then we use that capacity for service, and I mean service in the biggest way. You could have service as a software engineer or as a
Right.
whatever you are, as a mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we start to think about the we, including ourselves, we're just happier, right? We're more fulfilled. We're
Right.
just better versions of ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And we can go on, and but really what was very powerful, how you ended in the book as well, that it's like our life is the story. We look at life as if it is life is happening to us in the
Yeah.
beginning, and we graduate from there to understand as to how life is happening for us. But the really important part is to reach a stage where life happens through us. And I thought
Yes.
that was really profound and insightful, because you have
Yeah.
put it into words. Because many of us would have had these experiences, where you are compassionate, you use gratitude, but it doesn't become an everyday tool, and
Yeah.
something that you put into a practice, which can really take you in that path, to the next
Yeah.
stage. And I felt that you've assimilated that and given to us in a platter. And I thought that was really beautiful, because initially it's all about me, as you said. Life is
Yeah.
happening to
Right.
me, and why is this happening to me, and why is this
Yeah.
not happening to me, right? It's
Right.
like that.
Right.
But then if you graduate to that next stage, where life itself is there for us in a way. And what I was really
Yeah.
reminded of was Jim Carrey's Truman Show. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you've seen that, right? So
Yes.
where everybody is an actor, and only Jim Carrey as the it doesn't know, and everybody is
Yeah.
acting. But then
Right.
what really hit me when I read your these statements was, maybe, hey, maybe it's the reverse, where everybody doesn't know that they are acting, and only we
That's
do.
right.
And they are
That's right.
there for us,
Right.
and for us to really participate in whatever unfolding that happens. And
That's right.
to reach that stage is how you're kind of given us the steps, and that's fantastic. So that really, really empowering, if you will, that if you can put those dotted lines and see how to get there. So to reiterate, start with knowing yourself, and do a simple practice of loving yourself, maybe every day, and parallelly start a simple meditation practice. It could be simple, one breath. Consistency is the key. And use gratitude, just recounting what one is, what good things are there, probably different new things that we can bring to our mind every day
Mm.
as a simple practice itself could be super helpful, as you mentioned. And you can have
Mm.
on the table, definitely at the work. That's a fantastic initiative, I believe. And then seeing how you can reach out to others. And I
That's
believe
right.
you have given some simple tips. If I were to call it out in the interest of time,
Sure.
you have come up with a beautiful phrase, I believe, a terminology, if you will, called
Yeah.
micro compassions. If you
Micro
can say a
compassion.
word on that, that would
Sure.
be fantastic. Yeah.
Sometimes we talk about microaggressions, right?
Right.
Where people do these things and other people feel offended by them. Well,
Right.
the opposite perhaps is micro compassions. Pardon me. In other words, compassion doesn't have to be complicated. It can
Right.
be super simple. As
Mm.
an example, you're waiting in line at the grocery store,
Hmm.
and instead of just being on your phone, you just smile at someone, just
Right.
say hi to them, start up a conversation.
Hmm.
Or you're at work and you just remember to compliment someone,
Right.
or you remember something about their lives. Oh, Vikram, I know that you really like tennis. Have you been playing tennis lately? Or how's your
Right.
daughter? You mentioned last time that she was going to camp. Like, how did that
Right.
go? Whatever. It
Right.
doesn't even matter. The point is you're moving away from just me to we, right?
Right.
And your life is happening through us, right?
Right.
Because then if you've ever been around someone who was just full of life, right? Full of
Mm.
love and full of energy, life is happening through them. And
Right.
we feel different when we're around that person, right? We feel uplifted.
Right.
And when we're in our own head and when we have this grumpy look on our face, we're impacting everyone else around us as well,
Right.
right? So if you want to change the world,
Mm.
we change ourselves. So Rumi has this quote. I love Rumi. He's a Persian
Right.
poet from 700 or 800 years ago.
Yeah.
He said, "Yesterday I was clever and I tried to change the world, but today I'm wise and I'm working on myself."
Awesome.
Right? So
So
if we want to
insightful.
change the world, it starts with us. It starts with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And meditation and kindness are superpowers, which we should
Absolutely.
ideally use as tools every day, right? And have a
Absolutely.
consistent practice. And this is actually exactly the ethos of Black Lotus as an app as well, trying to marry the two, so that you have an internal kind of a practice of meditation, and also go out to the world and do simple kind acts. Need not be very, very big. Could be just as simple a thing as opening the door for somebody,
Yeah.
and that kind of both of these acts as catalysts to create that inner transformation, and help us reach the new coinage that you've created, the full body yes moment, and have so many of that throughout the day and live at peace. I mean, what else can be there? So thank you so much, Scott. It's been phenomenal talking to you. Very insightful.
My
and
pleasure.
we have really only scratched the surface. I feel that I could go on talking to you, and there is a whole new thing that we need to talk to you about. Your role, how you how you have brought mindfulness to work
Sure.
at scale, and
We
how
can do that next time.
Absolutely, we should do that next time, and help corporates to take this on, and and why not? And as your I believe you have a very nice phrase which says, change your work and your world from the inside out. And I think that's really powerful. And, everybody who's watching and listening, we will be back with a powerful episode and powerful discussion on that. And we'll pick Scott's brains and understand how he has, made that happen. Scott, pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks
and
for
your
having me.
insight.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.